When I think of the word passion, and I don't even really like that word, but let's just roll with it, I think of a lot of things, like being passionate about animals or music or learning or nutrition, and I even think about passion in relationships. But I think what most people seek when thinking about passion is the answer to the dreadful question, what do I want to do with my life? I think it's safe to say that wanting to construct a life for yourself where you get to spend your time and energy and attention on things that you enjoy is a universal desire. And I also think that there is this innate fear that we have of living an unfulfilling life, and finding your passion then sounds like the antidote to that, which is why, the search for it can sometimes become a desperate one. We want to find something worth committing to. Now, we recently talked about purpose, which is the why, and today I would like to talk about passion, which is the what. And I would like to discuss with you why I think that the framing finding your passion or searching for your passion, which we often see being thrown around, is tricky and perhaps even misleading. I'm going to be talking from the perspective of someone who has quote unquote found their passion, or at least found a passion. I definitely think that you can have multiple ones, which is this: creating videos and writing and storytelling and filmmaking and all the other things that it entails. Now, I don't have all of this figured out by any means. I am still pondering and wondering, but I figured I could ponder with you, mainly three things that I have personally come to understand / learn, things that I had gotten completely wrong from the beginning. Passions are formed, not found. I guess I used to believe that we were each born with a list of ready-to-use interests that were scattered around, waiting to be discovered, or worse, that I could just sit around and they would come and find me, which makes just as little sense as waiting for your dream prince or princess to come and show up at your door. Sure, some people come out of the womb singing and continue to sing for the rest of their lives, and yes, I do think that there are some things that we are more inclined to have interest in based on our personality and belief system and whatnot. But I think the general belief that passions are found and not formed can be misleading. And it's for 4 reasons mainly. Firstly, I just think that it's a frustrating way to think of it. I know for me that I would look at other people who seem to have found their passion and I would think, why haven't I found mine? What is wrong with me? Where is that sucker hiding? Secondly, I think it's limiting. I think that there are a lot of things that could potentially turn into passions. I'm not limiting myself by believing that there must be certain things that I'm meant to be discovering. I prefer to view the world as my playground, and I think that having that mindset just creates space for opportunities to present themselves. And thirdly, I have learned that the way to discover or reveal, or whatever word you would like to use, anything, is by actually doing stuff. So a psychologist named Jerome Bruner said that you're more likely to act yourself into feeling than feeling yourself into action. Sharing stories online wasn't something that I did once and then instantly, became passionate about. I mean, yes, I was interested and curious about it, but the passion was a byproduct of a lot of time and energy and dedication and progress, building a community and forming connections and feeling a sense of accountability. Those were, some of the building blocks that formed it into a passion, but I didn't find it that way. I think that one of the biggest mistakes that, people make when trying to figure out this whole passion thing, and I'm definitely guilty of this, is to just think about it. Like, we try to rationalize and figure things out in our head. Clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. The fourth thing that I would like to bring up on this point is a quote, and I can't remember who said it. It goes, "Success fuels passion more than passion fuels success." Let's say that you are an aspiring photographer who is just starting out, and you go outside to take some photos, and then you get back home and you look at them and you feel like they all just suck. So inevitably you are likely going to feel bummed, and it might be off-putting. Let's, however, say that you go out there enough times and eventually your photos turn out pretty freaking great. That is likely going to fuel you. So I remember when I had a sales job that I didn't like, and I remember one time my boss came to me and was like, "Hey Lana, you made the most sales this month." And I was like, "Oh wow, maybe sales is actually fun." And I just started enjoying it more. Now, the second realization / lesson that I would like to talk about is that I used to have a romanticized idea about what finding your passion was like, I think. I've mentioned all these positive words now, like excitement and fun, and that's where I come to this point, which is that I think part of the reason a lot of people feel confused about their passion is because of the way that it's often portrayed in, media and films and whatnot. So, we may think of the artist who has lost contact with friends and who sleeps on a mattress in their studio, spending all of their awake hours dancing around their canvas and creating painting after painting, fueled by the passion for their art. Or, we might even think of the toxic relationships that Hollywood loves portraying to us in movies and TV shows. So I think we're brought up on this idea that passion needs to be this intense, obsessive feeling, and that is desirable. And if it doesn't feel intense enough, then it's simply not right, and we should keep looking. So, essentially, we let our feelings be the sole guide when we are out there on the quest to find or discover our passion. Now, here's one of the problems that I personally see with this. So, feelings change, we change. And if you're only reliant on how you feel about the things that you do, rather than seeing to things like, what am I good at? Where lies opportunity? What's rational for me to do? You're likely going to have difficulty sticking things out when your feelings aren't cooperating. Nothing is fun all the time, and nothing is smooth sailing all the time, and it shouldn't be. So viewing passion that way would be to only paint half the picture. Personally, I think that the main difference between my corporate job and what I'm doing now is that now I'm suffering for something that I actually care about, which I guess to most people is better than suffering for something that you don't care about. I know Mark Manson talks about this quite a bit, and he wrote in one of his blog posts something like, what determines your success isn't what do you want to enjoy. The question is, how do you want to suffer? What pain do you want to suffer? Something like that. Now, finally, I would like to talk about seeking too far, and I would like to share this quote by Hermann Hesse. "What could I say to you that would be of value, except that perhaps you seek too much, that as a result of your seeking, you cannot find." Oftentimes, we already know what we like. We know what we tend to gravitate towards, what we love talking about and learning about and thinking about and teaching about, but we either A, don't take note of it because we think that nothing great could possibly be right, in front of my eyes, because, I don't know, as humans, we are inclined to just complicate things. Or B, we are held back by fear because we either have limiting beliefs about what's possible, or we view ourselves as inferior to others. I remember one time I was at a social gathering where there were a lot of people with quote unquote cool jobs that they loved talking about. Creators and founders and artists and such. And at the time, I was working a job that I did not enjoy. So whenever the job conversation came up and I heard everyone speak so fondly of, how they spent their time, I just thought to myself, why don't I have that? And actually, that social gathering, which I didn't even want to go to at first, ended up being a wake-up call that I didn't even realize that I needed. Because I got to experience firsthand that, in fact, so much is possible. And everyone there was a person just like I, and if they can do it, so can I, and so can you. And I'm willing to bet that none of those people, woke up with a letter on their desk from Passion Land inviting them to come over. They created their own Passion Land. Now, speaking of learning and experiences, let's thank our sponsor today, Skillshare. So recently, I have been getting into film photography, as some of you may know, and while the best way to learn is to go out there and shoot, there are a lot of technicalities that I should learn beforehand to avoid wasting film. So I have been enjoying this class by Antonio Costello called Film Photography, the Ins and Outs of Going Analog. And it covers some of the basics, which is just what I need right now. As most of you know, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes on a variety of topics. So I've been taking classes on there for almost 2 years now, and there's always something new and fun to learn. Whether you want to take a class on writing or video editing, you will likely find it there. Now, if you want to try out Skillshare yourself, I have a special offer for you. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, and after that, it's only around $10 a month. And that was all I wanted to discuss with you all today. And like I said, this is not a manual on how to do things, it's just my thought process, and I would love to hear about your thought process. So as always, share what you think in the comment section. Did you get a letter from Passion Land letting you know what your passions were and how you could find them, or did you take a different route? Share that in the comment section. Thank you so much for showing up here today, and I will see you very soon.